Israel. And the memory text reads, "You have seen what I did to Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now, therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my commandments, then you shall be a special treasure to me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." Here, this memory text assumed to be speaking to the people of Israel. But the fact that it's actually meant for us, we are the Israelites of today, is telling us how we will rely on God, how we will trust in God. Most especially that even the situation, even the circumstances that we are facing today, if we reflect, if we think back to what God has done in our lives or had been doing in our lives, we'll have cause to trust, to have faith, and believe in God. You know, so this was what God was trying to remind the Israelites that they should do. And unfortunately, these are a set of people that forget easily. They forget.
We all forget easily.
See, sometimes it's like we are speaking to the children of Israelites.
Like we are the children of Israelites.
And we're actually talking to ourselves. Exactly. We're actually talking to ourselves. How often do we forget? When you face challenges, do you think back to the one God has settled in your life? To believe and trust God that this very one you are facing, that He is going to face it.
Most of the times we are so quick to find the quickest shortcuts. We are thinking of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 before we even remember that we have a God though, and that's how it is for most of us. Am I right?
So the lesson is challenging us. The lesson is challenging us to believe in God, to trust in God, that the God who parted the Red Sea, that the God who, he said, the blood will be put on the doorposts of the Israelites. When I see the blood, I will pass over it. It's still on our forehead today. When challenges faces us, when situation met us, when difficulties, when sickness face us, when they see the blood, if we believe, they did their own, they take the bold step first. God say, put the blood on the door, so that when I see it. So how do we put the blood on our doorstep today?
How do we put the blood on our doorsteps today?
Through prayers. Trusting in God, believing in God that God will do it. That was what God required of the Israelites. And they took that bold step and applied the blood. It's the instructions given to them. That moment they followed it, and we could see what happened. That indeed, where God was passing, and He sees the blood, He passed over.
Let's not forget the commandments too. By keeping the commandments, the blood is also on our foreheads. Are we right? There are certain commandments that you keep, that when the devil is trying to do left and right, because you keep it, that's like the blood on our doorposts.
A little jot I made here. I say the basic agreement of the Sinai covenant is God's affirmation of the Israelites as His people on the condition that they accept certain rules of conduct. The Sinai covenant also established a theocracy in which God would govern the nation of Israel through the enforcement of His civil law. And what are these civil laws? These are laws dealt with crime, punishment, sanitation, treatment of diseases, and other civic and governmental affairs found mostly in Leviticus, Number, Deuteronomy. So, the covenant God formed with Israel at Sinai was a covenant of grace. Christian. There are ways we are supposed to act as Christian. As Christian, we are not supposed to behave in a way that any other person behaves. Being that we are the one that we are the representative of God on earth. So that love we are preaching here, that we just said that the summary of this lesson is love. We are supposed to represent God and showcase and show it to people how God is loving and kind.
School rules.
Very good. That's what you do in a marriage, in a business, or in an employment contract. And that's exactly what God did on Mount Sinai. For many, the 10 Commandments are a simple mathematical formula. 10 Commandments equals 10 prohibitions from an arbitrary God. But in light of the Bible, that formula is incorrect. What is the correct formula? 10 Commandments equals a covenant of love between God and His people. And what does that covenant consist of? God makes it clear in several passages of the Bible.
I will take you as my people, and I will be your God.
Can you see it? They are not 10 arbitrary prohibitions. In fact, in the book of Exodus, they are never even called the 10 Commandments. They are called Edut, a Hebrew term that translates as testimony, and Dibre Haberit, a Hebrew term that translates as the words of the covenant. And in the book of Deuteronomy, the stones on which those 10 commandments were written are called the tablets of the covenant. Covenant, that is the key word. The agreement was momentous but simple. If you obey me and keep my covenant, you will be my special treasure among all the nations of the earth. Have you ever thought that if we keep His covenant, the 10 commandments, we become God's special treasure? In Hebrew, that expression is segula, which means precious possession, wealth, something that is carefully guarded. That is what we are to God if we keep His covenant, and no one purposefully leaves a diamond, an emerald, or a gold ring lying around on the street. Likewise, God never leaves His faithful people lying in the trials of life. So don't keep the 10 commandments as a cold contract of agreement. Keep them as the best contract you have ever signed in your life. Second, because God's law is a protecting gift. Can you think of any laws that actually protect us?
Wearing a seatbelt or not running a red light.
Exactly. These laws are not there to annoy us. They are there to protect us. And that is what God did on Mount Sinai. Can you imagine being there, hearing the 10 commandments from the mouth of God?
You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol, nor any likeness of what is in heaven above or on earth, beneath or in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I am the Lord your God, a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. You shall not do any work on that day, neither you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your livestock, nor the stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor your father and your mother, so that your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is your neighbor's.
What we have just heard is one of God's greatest gifts to humanity. Paul in Romans summarized the law in a single word, love, and Jesus also did so in the Great Commandment. Love God, love your neighbor, and love yourself. Yourself? Sure, because just as obeying traffic lights is not only a law, but also an act of self-care, the commandments prevent us from crashing into sin. Do you want to live safely in this broken world? then embrace God's law, because every no in the commandments is a yes to the full life that God dreamed for you. And third, because God's law keeps us free. Do you like mirrors?
I love them.
Why?
Because they show us how we are.
Exactly. Apostle James compares the law to a mirror. It does not remove dirty spots, but it shows them. Can you understand that? The law does not save us, but it shows us how we are. Some mistakenly claim that the Ten Commandments were abolished at the cross. But several decades after the cross, the Apostle James referred to them as a valid and eternal law. For whoever keeps the whole law but fails in one point has become guilty of all of it. For he who said, "You shall not commit adultery," also said, "You shall not murder." Now if you do not commit adultery, but you do kill, you have become a transgressor of the law. So speak and so act as those who are to be judged under the law that gives freedom. Why do you think James calls the Ten Commandments the law that gives freedom? Listen up. God did not give the commandments to see if Israel was worthy of being saved. God had already saved them. They had already crossed the Red Sea. They were already free. The law was not a requirement for their liberation. It was a guide for preserving their freedom. Did you notice? It is as if God were saying to them, "I have set you free, and now I give you these rules so that you will never again be slaves to anyone, not even to sin." Because that is what the law is, a guide to living in true freedom. It is as if they released a prisoner and said to him, "Do you want to remain free? Respect the law and stay away from bad friends." There is another Hebrew term used in the Bible to refer to the Ten Commandments, debarim, which means words and can also mean promises. And of course, they are promises because it is a covenant that assures us that we are God's precious treasure. It is a law that protects us from sin, and it is a gift from God that keeps us free. That is why God regarded it as a case of maximum heavenly security, pronounced the commandments with his own voice, and wrote them with his own finger. Never see the Ten Commandments as 10 prohibitions, but as a heavenly defense system that loves you, protects you, and keeps you free. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Has this study blessed you? You can also be part of this mission to teach the Bible in a creative and transformative way. Scan the QR code on the screen and support us so that more people can learn how to study biblical prophecy. Remember, together we can grow more.
You're not going to clap for us? Wow, that was very inspiring. That taught me a lot. Did he teach us a lot? So I'm just going to go through quick because we don't really have time. Few point talents. So one very interesting thing I learned yesterday. Do you know, for the first time, because growing up as a child, anytime we spoke about the commandment, all I heard was God gave Moses the tablets. I'm just realizing that God actually spoke before he gave him the tablets. So he spoke the words, and then so whenever I hear people try to argue, "Oh, it's Moses' law, it was given in the Old Testament," now, I have a new knowledge that God spoke the word, and you can't say something that God spoke is old and doesn't stand anymore whenever they're trying to say, "Oh, the command." So God spoke the word. Secondly, God called them out of Egypt to himself. I think it was stated in the Bible verse. And one interesting thing for me is when God called them to himself, at Mount Sinai, at the base, they stayed there for almost a year plus or so. And the lesson there is, when God calls us to himself, most of us, we don't take time. We don't take time. In fact, there's something called, I think everyone has a waiting face. So the waiting face is God calling you to himself to calm down. Let's look at the word clearly. Some of us were so in a hurry to leave. So this is the lesson I learned from there. And one other thing is, to meet God, they had to consecrate themselves. Mm-hmm. When we want to pray, some of us can be wearing dirty clothes, our room is dirty, and we still kneel down and still pray. We don't honor God in our lives today. It was a real lesson for me. When you want to meet God, when you want to meet the presence of God, there's one thing that they'll teach us as child. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Yeah. How many of us, let's even start with our external surrounding. Can't you see that the church is clean? You think you can come and worship God in a dirty church? How about your rooms? How about where you pray to God? What do you do to keep yourself? There's so many lessons to learn from that. And lastly, the law was to preserve their freedom. At a point, I was telling God that, you gave us freedom of choice as humans. And for God to still give you the law to preserve that freedom, please clap for God. Please clap for God. There's freedom of choice. You can do whatever, but because he still loves us so much, that even in your freedom, even in the fact that you can choose things for yourself, here are these laws to guide you, to fence you, to protect you. It's not something that we'll be going back and forth with somebody and start to be arguing the law. Oh, and God said this. Oh, is it? No. It's not to cage you. It's not to restrict you. It's to preserve that freedom. There are lots of things to learn. And lastly, I'm just going to say one thing about Moses' humility for me. I don't know if anybody saw it. But you see, after God used Moses, turned the stick to snake. When they got to the mountain, how many of us realize that the times Moses went to the mountain, he was called to the mountain? Did we see Moses just, okay, you people stay here, let me go to the mountain and meet God? He was called to the mountain. Moses still had, in fact, I think when he was about to bring Aaron, God told him, go and bring Aaron and come. Moses had humility. And if I'm